Welcome to Module 4, Enhancing Your Presentations.
Now that you've settled into your learning community here at Clemson, you're beginning to think about how you and your work might fit into your larger field.
That professional space that extends beyond the campus of Clemson into a global network of researchers working on solutions to similar problems.
As members of our field, we conduct research, share our methods and data in journals and conferences, and work collectively to advance the research and teaching necessary for our field's development.
In this module, you'll be taking what you've been doing in your research and explain it to both your greater field and your learning community here at Clemson.
Clemson's learning community is especially important right now since you're establishing yourself as a researcher.
Meeting other graduate students in and outside of your program
who can discuss research interests, methods, and practices with you
will help you explore the possibilities of where your research might go.
Fortunately, there are plenty of opportunities for this at Clemson, like at the Graduate Research and Discovery Symposium, where you can showcase your work
and grow your learning community.
Knowing how to present and design information to this community is key.
The clearer you design your research data, the more your audience will be able to interact with and understand your message. So in this module, we'll walk through the steps and design principles
to help you create information for a user experience that clearly and concretely conveys research data.
We'll be working with Adobe InDesign, a tool used to not only create cool posters,
but documents accessible across media
that will amplify both your leadership skills and your expertise as a researcher.
Ready to get started?
Some of you may be thinking, I'm not a designer. Where do I start?
All design starts here, at this triangle. Maybe you've seen this triangle before in a speech class, but let's unpack it a little bit more with your professional identity in mind.
On the one end, you have your speaker, you, that evolving scholar.
On the other, you have the researched, scholarly message you're crafting.
And on the third end, you have the academic audience.
When we put these three ends together, we must ask, how can you best present your research in a way that also best represents you, the professional, to your audience?
In this module, we'll be designing a poster that will address this question and bring these elements together.
So let's zoom in on 6 principles of design.
They'll give us a language to start talking about and thinking about all aspects of design.
From text to images to how we might combine them together in a layout.
These include balance,
alignment,
proximity,
space, repetition, and contrast.
A good way to think about these 6 principles is by considering the concept of hierarchy.
What's most important for our audiences to see and know?
Most academic poster designs follow a pattern that tracks the reader's eye in a top-to-bottom, left-to-right orientation.
Within this layout, we must determine what information gets privileged and how we can represent this data visually in our design. We can do this by first considering the design principle of balance. Balance relates to the proportion of objects in your layout. Next, alignment corresponds to the lines that we construct through the shape and organization of our design. When we balance and align text and images, we need to think about the proximity of our design elements and the space in between them.
Proximity, or the distance between objects, establishes a relationship between elements.
The closer something is to another thing, the more audiences will assume they relate.
Space, or the negative between objects, creates breathing room and sets important elements apart from others.
The biggest mistake new designers make is to cram everything together instead of creating enough space for viewers to appreciate the various elements in a composition.
Repetition reinforces key concepts and design styles and leads to consistency in the various elements of your overall design.
We repeat color,
font,
text, column size,
and other aspects of style.
It is through repetition and the next design element,
contrast,
that we distinguish elements from each other.
An important technique in establishing hierarchies.
Now that we have you thinking like a designer, it's time to start designing a 3-column poster.
If you haven't already downloaded and opened InDesign from the Creative Cloud, do it now.
In addition to a physical poster, with InDesign, you'll be able to rework your poster into a digital document your viewer can access on a mobile device so they can take your research data and you with them.
It's a great way to connect with scholars when time is short.
In our next video, we'll go through the nitty-gritty, step-by-step process of creating through InDesign.
Keep in mind that design is an iterative process. A lot of what we've discussed will involve trial and error and experimentation on your end to see what works.
We work and rework a design, growing it or changing it to suit our audience, our information, and what we want it to say about us.
So have fun designing. As you engage in this process, remember the lessons from this module and others.
You've learned that some skills transfer, but that oftentimes you have to know where to go to find what you need.
YouTube, online chats, that kid who lives next door. You've learned to be persistent, playful, resourceful. And as a result, you're seeing the world in a whole new way.
As a designer.
Remember, transformation begins here.